Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Class. I'm Chef Gooch. Today we're having a pizza party. So I've got a guest today. This is Justin, one of my advanced culinary students. He's going to be assisting me. I love pizza, and sometimes I just want to cook it at home. There's a lot of really crazy, intricate tools or specialty tools that you might not have, and that's okay. I'm going to show you what we can use to substitute. The first thing you want to do is crank your oven all the way up to 500 degrees, as high as it'll go. If you have a pizza stone, these are really handy, really cheap, not just for pizza, but sometimes if you're baking a pie around the holidays, you can place the pie on a preheated pizza stone and then make sure that your crust doesn't get too soggy. So if you don't have one of these, it's okay. A couple of things you could use to substitute would be a cast iron skillet turned upside down, or even a cookie sheet just turned upside down. Put that in the oven while you're preheating before we get started. For making our dough, you don't need a big stand mixer or anything special. We're gonna do it all by hand, and me and Justin are gonna show you how. It's pretty easy. So right here I've got about 500 grams of flour. We're gonna add just a little bit of salt and some yeast. This is only about 1/4 teaspoon of dry yeast. Just dump it in there. You want to make sure that you stir this together with your flour really, really well. This is a no-knead recipe, so it doesn't require you to sit there and knead by hand forever or to have any expensive tools like a KitchenAid stand mixer or anything like that. I even take this recipe with me when I go camping because it's super simple. All you need is a bowl, really. Yeah, we whisked it together. That looks good. So we're going to set the whisk aside. We're gonna pour in about 1.5 cups of water. We're gonna start with the wooden spoon. Justin, go ahead. There you go. And we're just gonna start kind of bringing this together. In a minute, it's gonna start to form a shaggy dough. And once it does, we're gonna switch to our hands and we're just gonna bring it together. While Justin's doing that, I'm gonna grab a metal bowl here. We're gonna grease it up. You can just use a little pan spray or a little olive oil. We're going to transfer our dough to here to let it rest. That's probably good. Let's go ahead and just start using your hands. Go ahead. They're going to get a little sticky, a little dirty. That's all right. So we want to do, yeah, it's real sticky, right? So just grab it all together and squish it together. So just grab all the dough and squish it together, pick it up, start folding it together, trying to get all that flour mixed in. You can be rough with it right now. We don't have to be real nice to it. Just grab it. Go ahead, do that a couple more times, Justin. So we're starting to get a shaggy dough to form, and that's what we're looking for. It doesn't have to be super elastic and smooth, because this is, like I said, a no-knead recipe. We're still just kind of mixing. But that's why you want to make sure you whisk your salt and your yeast with your flour, because it doesn't get kneaded. We want to make sure that those are mixed throughout the dough. That's pretty good right there. Let me take a look. So it's going to take a big handful of it. It's pretty sticky and it's gross on your hands, but that's okay. But we're just going to form this into a big ball. And I'm just taking and folding it in half. Trying to make a big dough ball. And it's very rough on the outside. It's very not consistent, it's kind of knobby. That's okay. As this sits and rises, it's going to kind of smooth itself out, and that's why this is a no-knead recipe. So we got it in this greased up bowl right here, and then all we're going to do is take a dish towel or some plastic wrap, either one, set this on top, and usually you can let this sit from anywhere from 6 to 12 hours. All right, while my dough is sitting aside, kind of rising, we're gonna go ahead and start making some tomato sauce from scratch. So I'm gonna put this sauce pot on medium heat. I've got a couple of different ingredients here for our tomato sauce. So I just got a can of whole tomatoes that have been peeled. There's a lot of little extra sauce in there. We've got some onions, some garlic, some tomato paste, and a little bit of butter, and then of course some salt and pepper. What I love about making your own tomato sauce for pizza is, sure, you can go buy it in a jar, but you can really tweak your sauce to your personal tastes. So let's get started. I'm gonna throw just a little bit of olive oil in here. I'm gonna take, and this is a method I really like to use for garlic. I like to use a microplane instead of using my knife. And I'm gonna take and just kind of shred this stuff while my pan gets hot. Just watch your fingers at the end there. 1/4 of a small onion diced right here. This was about a 28-ounce can of crushed whole tomatoes that have been peeled, but we don't need quite that much. And I've got quite a bit of tomato paste there as well. So using fresh tomatoes, this would take forever. You would have to cook it down and reduce it for hours. I don't have that kind of time. Nobody does. So we've got the tomato paste and the canned tomatoes to help out. My secret to my tomato sauce is I always mount it with a little bit of butter at the end. It really helps round out the mouthfeel and make it not quite as acidic or sharp inside your mouth. All right, I got my garlic and my onion going in this olive oil. All we're really looking for is to sweat these vegetables and get them a little translucent. We don't want a whole lot of color. Smells really good already. It's a lot of garlic. All right, my onions are looking nice and translucent. My garlic's starting to get just a little bit of color, so we can start adding our tomatoes. So I'm gonna add some of these whole tomatoes. Give them a little squish once they get in there. The more tomato paste you add to your sauce, the deeper and richer the flavor is going to be. So I like to add a good amount. It's probably going to be about 2 ounces. And what we're looking for is to bring this up to a simmer. Then we're going to throw the lid on and just kind of let it sit and let all those flavors mellow. I don't season my sauce with salt or pepper till the very end. And if you'd like at this point, you could add in any dried herbs, any Italian seasoning, dried basil, dried thyme. I happen to have some fresh basil on hand, so I'm gonna infuse this by just taking a big chunk, including the stem, and just dropping it in there, maybe a couple. And then I can pull that out. My sauce is done. We're going to bring that up to a boil, reduce to a simmer and cover, and let it simmer for about 20 to 30 minutes. No 2-3 hour long sauce today. All right, I happen to have some dough that some of my students made for me earlier. And as you can see, it's gotten much, much bigger. I think this was also a double batch. So the batch we made earlier would make 4 really good sized pizzas. This is going to make 8. That's okay. We're just gonna dump it out. You can see the yeast has worked its yeasty magic. We got a lot of air going. It smells very yeasty, and that's okay. We're gonna portion this dough. Like I said, this is a double batch, so I'm gonna portion this into about 8 pieces. And if you have a scale or if you really want to, you can weigh these out and make sure they're all even. Each one should be about 205 grams. All right, so we've got our dough. You shouldn't need a lot of flour at this point. You don't want to use any flour right now. We're going to use flour right before we stretch the dough and put it in the oven. So what we want to do is we want to shape these into nice, perfect little spheres, or as the French say, boules. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the dough and fold it in half and turn. I'm going to do that over and over. see how it's kind of smoothed out on the top now? Once you get to this point, the bottom isn't very nice and smooth, and that's okay. We're gonna use the bottoms of our hand along our pinkies. We're gonna roll the dough, applying pressure on the top, but using our pinkies to kind of squeeze the dough together. If you're tall, you might have to kind of squat down so you don't hurt your back. And the pinkies just kind of squeeze it together on the bottom. It's getting nice and smooth, and that's what we're looking for. Oh, almost. You need to put a little oil on your hands. My hands are kind of dry, so they're sticking to the dough, and it's causing it to kind of rip and tear. Now my hands are kind of oily. It'll stick. Won't stick. It'll be nice and smooth. All right, so once you have your dough, let's just go ahead and oil up another cookie sheet. My hands are already nice and oily. We're gonna place this on our cookie sheet. So I like to have a pizza party at my house. It requires a little bit more on your part. You gotta make some of the dough and the sauce ahead of time. But then I have all my friends bring different toppings over. And so by the time everybody gets there, my kitchen is full of pizza toppings, sauce. Everybody gets to walk by, make their own little personal pizza. Sometimes we have contests or we vote to see who's got the best. So just a little bit of extra work on your part the day before, but it's a blast, and trust me, it'll be better than any pizza you can have delivered. All right, once you've got all of your dough set aside, they're all booled. We want to make sure that they stay moist on the outside and they don't dry up. So I take a little bit of oil. You can use pan spray, whatever you want. Put a little bit on each. My hands are already dirty. I'm just going to use my hands. You can use a brush, aerosol spray, whatever you want, and just grease up those little dough balls. And that's going to keep the outside from getting crusty. We can loosely wrap this in plastic wrap, or you can put another dish towel on top. All right, guys, let's check on our sauce. It's been simmering for a while now, about 20 minutes, maybe 30. It's looking really good. Those whole tomatoes have all kind of broken down. It's already nice and chunky. This is a good looking sauce to me. I wouldn't want to blend this up. So now that we're near the end, my little secret is just to mount it with a little bit of butter. So I've got about 4 tablespoons of butter right here. I'm gonna drop that in. And the addition of the fat into a tomato sauce really helps to balance the acidity. Bring it down. So we're gonna incorporate that, and then we're gonna season it with some salt and pepper and take it off the heat. So I love this sauce. It's so easy to make it your own. You could add some red pepper flakes, dried oregano, whatever you want, really. Nice. So that butter has all melted in and incorporated. And this is going to be good for up to a week in your fridge, so you can definitely prep it the day before. Now a little salt, a little pepper. And we're going to give this a taste and see what it needs. All right, so while this sauce is going, your dough, after you have booled up your dough and you've got it covered, it'll actually stay good in the refrigerator for up to about 3 days. So you can start your pizza party plenty of time in advance. When we come back, I'm gonna have all of our pizza toppings, show you how to toss your dough, and some of my favorite pizza combinations. All right, well, I'm getting all of my toppings set up. We're gonna make one of my favorite toppings for pizza, and that is roasted red peppers. Yes, you can go and buy these in a jar pre-made, but it's super simple to make at home. If you don't have gas at home, don't worry. You can turn your broiler on high, move a rack to the very top, and you can put a couple of red peppers, and every couple of minutes just rotate them. Peppers have this fine skin on the outside, and it's gonna get black. It's gonna look burnt, but don't worry, it's okay. We want it to be black. So I'm just gonna turn my gas stove on, and we're just gonna throw these right on the fire. So watch your peppers. They're gonna get nice and black, and your house is gonna smell great. You're gonna hear them blister, pop, And that's what we're looking for. We want the entire outside of this pepper to turn nice and black. I don't want to see hardly any red when we're done. Grab either a bucket that you have a lid for or a plastic or Ziploc bag, and you're going to put the peppers inside once you're done. Seal it up for about 5 or 6 minutes, and that helps the skin to loosen. It's going to make it really easy to get all that black skin off and reveal the roasted pepper underneath. We're already getting nice and black. Just give them a little rotation there. All right, these peppers look nice and roasted. We've got quite a bit of blackening going on all around the skin. So I think we can turn that heat off. I'm gonna grab a big Ziploc bag, or you can use some Tupperware, anything. Put these in there, seal your bag up, and they immediately start to steam. And what that steam does, it's going to get in under the skin, under all the blackened part. It's going to help us rub that off in about 5 or so minutes. So just set these aside, and after about 5 or 6 minutes, we're going to scrape all that skin off and dice up our peppers. All right, guys, so we've got all of our toppings. We're about to peel and dice up our roasted red peppers. And over here, I've got a variety of toppings. First up, I've got a little extra flour to help us flatten out our dough, shape it, and some cornmeal to make sure it doesn't stick. Right here I've got some shredded mozzarella cheese and some pecorino romano, or Parmesan will also work. I've got fresh mozzarella, and this is one of my favorite cheeses right here. It's called burrata. Burrata is mozzarella cheese, but on the inside it's filled with heavy cream. That's a lot of fun. We've got some fresh basil, some tomatoes, pepperoni, of course, gotta have it. I've got some Canadian bacon we sliced here, some roasted jalapenos, and the highly controversial pineapple. I'm gonna show you how to make pineapple into a really amazing pizza. And over here I got a little bit of prosciutto as well. We're gonna make some fancy pizzas and some classics. So let's start off with these peppers. They're not too hot for me to touch. So this is super easy. You can do it over your sink if you want to, but after they've sat in your bag or bucket for a little while, this skin is just going to peel right off. And we have some beautiful flesh of the pepper underneath. Just peel all this blackened nonsense off. We're left with a great roasted, fire roasted flavor underneath. This one's still pretty hot. Once you get most of the skin off, what you want to do, take your thumb and on the top of the pepper, push in. Oh, this one's not going to do it. There it goes. Be careful, there could be a lot of steam in there. Might burn you. So we're going to cut around. We're just going to pop that. Whew. It is warm. All right. Now I'm going to take this over to my sink and give it just a real quick rinse. Get these last little remnants off. Make sure there are no seeds. Then we'll bring it back over here and dice it up and get ready to top some pizzas. All right, got our pepper all cleaned up. I'm gonna cut this into some nice strips. It's real simple. Those look nice. Careful, it's a little slippery. Some of those are a little long. Cut some of those in half. That's fine. That's all good. All right. So we've got all of our toppings assembled, and you're ready to have your pizza party. The one thing that I'm going to use is called a pizza peel. Now you can get these at any restaurant supply store here in town, but you don't have to have one to do this. One thing you can do is you can turn a cookie sheet upside down and treat it exactly like this peel and use it to slide your pizza into the oven onto your other cookie sheet that's upside down. So to prep our peel, we want to season it with a little bit of flour. And then also give it a good sprinkle of coarse cornmeal. And that's going to ensure that our pizza slides into the oven. So do the same thing on your upside down cookie sheet. All right, I've got my doughs right here. You want to make sure you pull these out of the fridge about 30 minutes to an hour before you're ready to make your pizza, before your guests arrive. Now is when we're going to use some extra flour. So scrape them up. If you've got one of these or just a large spatula, scrape them up, get them in the flour. It seems like a lot of flour, but we're going to get a lot of that off. Let's make sure our peel is nearby. All right, so work from the inside out. Just use your fingers. You never want to roll pizza dough. We want all these bubbles and that texture as it cooks make for a really good bite. There's no need to even pick it up or do anything fancy, but we do want to get some of the excess flour off. So you could just work it the whole time on here. If you want to, you can also pick it up, put it on your knuckles. Don't use your fingers, you'll poke holes. And I just cross my hands back and forth. It's a great size for a personal pizza. So we're going to put it onto my peel and we're going to give it a little slide test. Yep, we're good to go. You got to work kind of fast because as your pizza sits here, the yeast is still working inside. And so if it sits for too long, it might get a little moist. And it's going to stick to the peel, and then you're going to have a really bad time trying to get it off into your oven. You're going to scream. You're never going to want to make pizza again. So what should we do? You know what? Let's do a really classic pizza. Let's go for the margarita. Sometimes some people like to put a little bit of sauce on their margarita. Some don't. Some do just the tomatoes. Margarita classically is tomatoes, fresh mozzarella cheese, and some basil, maybe a little salt and pepper, and that is it. But I still want a little bit of sauce on mine. I'm going to do just a little bit, very thin amount of sauce. Spread it around with your ladle there. All right, so let's do some fresh tomatoes. We're going to do some fresh mozzarella cheese. I'm going to take this and just tear it into bits. And when this comes out of the oven, we're going to top it with some fresh torn basil. If we put the basil on top of this pizza, it's definitely going to burn in a 500-degree oven. And I've got a little bit of shredded, low moisture mozzarella just to fill in the gaps for my cheese. I'm going to spread that all around. All right, this next pizza we're going to work on, we're going to use some roasted red pepper, some prosciutto, and then also that burrata cheese, which is the mozzarella with the heavy cream on the inside. Prosciutto is really delicate, and if you put that, just like the basil, if we throw that straight into the oven, it's definitely going to crisp up and burn. These pizzas don't take very long if your oven's at 500 degrees. They're only going to take about 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, so for this one, we're going to lay down a base. So a little bit of the pecorino romano, a little bit of the shredded mozzarella, some of our roasted red peppers. Now these small pizzas are great for 2, 3, maybe 4 toppings. This dough is not going to support monster supreme that's piled high with toppings. So keep it simple. All right, so we've got that. Here's that burrata cheese. So this is a lot of fun. Some people put it on after the pizza comes out, but we're gonna put these on beforehand. So as you break them open, some of that thick, heavy cream that's caught inside is gonna pour out. You can pick these up anywhere that has some nice cheese. So look at this. Yeah, doesn't take very much. When we pull this pizza out of the oven while it's still really hot, we're gonna put some of that folded prosciutto on top and let it sit. And while it cools, the heat coming off the pizza is gonna warm up that prosciutto, and then we'll cut it up and eat it. So let's get these two in the oven, and then I'll show you my secret for making a delicious pizza that has pineapple on it. All right, pineapple is highly debated about whether it belongs on pizza or not. I think you can put whatever you want on a pizza, but it's got to all mesh and come together really well. So what I like to do is, if I'm gonna put pineapple on a pizza, I don't want any tomato sauce, because the tomato sauce and the pineapple just really don't work for me. So instead, we're going to just use a good olive oil as the base. This is actually one of my favorite pizzas for breakfast. So, a little bit of olive oil. We're gonna start off with our mozzarella cheese. Some of that pecorino romano. And then I'm gonna go with we're gonna use some Canadian bacon or some ham. These are a little big, so I'm gonna cut them in half and in quarters. And I think this ham, pineapple, and then some roasted jalapenos is delicious. And I like to make this pizza when I'm having a pizza party, and then I don't let anybody eat it. And then I put it in the fridge, and in the morning I eat it for breakfast. I'm gonna throw a little more cheese on top in order to hold those toppings down, and so you get that nice golden brown melty cheese. In order to pull our pizzas out, I'm gonna use a metal peel. Now again, this is another specialty tool, and you don't have to have it. If you happen to have a large metal spatula or a big grill spatula, you can use that, or two of them, and pull the pizzas out of your own oven at home. Then just have one of your friends set it on the plate or a cookie sheet that they've got standing by. You want to put these delicate toppings on while the pizza's still nice and hot. So we've got our margarita here. We're going to put some torn basil. And this is easy, looks very rustic. Let's get that prosciutto. Start putting it on our pizza as well. There you have it. Perfect steps to having a pizza party. These pizzas look great, by the way. Yeah, look at that. Prosciutto. We've got our classic margarita. We have the little fancier pizza with the burrata cheese and prosciutto. And then of course, my favorite breakfast pizza, pineapple, Canadian bacon, and jalapeno. Well, thanks for joining me. It's been fun. I hope you'll go out and have your own pizza parties. Thanks for gorging with Gooch.
This has been a production of the students and staff at Lubbock ISD TV.